We have our reporter standing by to bring you the latest, but as we go to air, this is what you need to know right now. It has been downgraded to a tropical low from a Category 1. It was a Category 2 originally as it neared before going to a Category 1, now a low. There are fears of flooding across Brisbane, the Gold Coast and Lismore, with some of that already happening. Authorities are warning it is not over. 300,000 homes are without power across southeast Queensland as well, as Energex crews slowly start to come out. Now, right now, there are multiple flood warnings in place across Queensland. They include initial moderate flood warnings for Lockyer and Laidley Creeks, major flood warning for the Bremer River and Worrell Creek, major flood warning for the Logan River and moderate flood warning for Albert River, flood warning for Nerang and Coomera Rivers, minor flood warning for the Cooper Creek, and final flood warning for the Thompson River. We are under a flood watch in catchments that could be impacted, such as the Mary River, the Noosa River, Sunshine Coast Rivers and Creeks, Pine and Caboolture Rivers, Upper Brisbane River, Lower Brisbane River, Gold Coast Rivers and Creeks, Condamine River, McIntyre River, and the Weir River. Our dams are sitting above 80%, with multiple dams spilling. Now, at this stage, Wivenhoe Dam is remaining safe for now, but at Somerset Dam, they are in their flood storage capacity as the rain does start to come down. We're going to go first to our reporter, Levi Knight, who is on the Gold Coast. Levi, that area has been fairly damaged by power outages and incidents like that, bringing down telephone lines due to that debris. What are we seeing there now?
Really felt the effects of ex-tropical cyclone Alfred, with those severe rains and winds causing a series of fallen trees and power lines across the coast and northern New South Wales. There aren't that many houses on the Gold Coast where the lights are still on, with more than 290,000 southeast homes without power. Today, and Energex are warning people to stay away from fallen power lines, as many of them are still active, and to stay off the roads if you can. 36,000 properties in New South Wales without power, and it's expected to take more than a week for these to be restored. 17,000 restorations in northern New South Wales have taken place so far, but there are many new outages from just today alone. NBN are reporting 130,000 of their customers are without connection across Queensland and New South Wales. We heard from Energex that there are over 1,600 workers on standby to make restoration efforts when it's safe to do so. But looking at these winds now, I can't imagine a lot of that is happening so far. We saw some of those winds last night where a home in Labrador had its entire roof ripped off. There's severe flooding on the Gold Coast, including the Coomera River, reminding residents if it's flooded, forget it. This, of course, causing a growing amount of road closures on the Gold Coast and northern New South Wales. The residents of Lismore really feeling it. Some saying they feel the whole town has been completely washed away. Now, we've seen some vision of these crashing waves clearly causing some damage and coastal erosion. This is going to take months for the council to repair. Those waves absolutely thrashing the coast in the past couple of days, and even today, especially last night. Where even now we're experiencing these strong winds, they're gonna make the waves even worse. The beach has basically disappeared. We saw yesterday an entire lifeguard tower was swallowed by the water, showing us just how far that water has come up where the beach used to be. Now, council already spends significant funding on the beach, Austin, so I can only imagine how much time, money, and effort these restorations are going to take.
It's going to be a big cleanup effort ahead. Levi Knight reporting at the Gold Coast. Thank you very much. And I will say, just driving around Brisbane, as I said a little earlier, every area, every suburb you go, it's a different story. It just in my area, it's not too bad. We remained on the large unscathed, but heading towards Upper Mount Gravatt, and I was there just before, and we'll go to that report in just a second. There were power lines down, traffic lights are out, homes are blacked out. And unfortunately, it's a situation that is even worse the further south you go. And I was reporting at Mount Gravatt just before. There is a tree down. We'll have a look at that. If you take a look here, it could have been a lot worse. That tree has collapsed on its side, almost hitting that house. If it went the other way, it would have hit that other house as well. It's really a bad situation what's happened here as well. You can just see that tree. It's just gone down. It looks like it's possibly smashed into that fence. It's taken out road signs, and it has taken out those power lines as well, which is certainly nothing good as well. And people are being urged to stay away from this area as the rain does start to come down again and those winds do pick up. But obviously, it is a watch and wait situation to see what this rain does next. But this is the destruction from the cyclone overnight, and one of the worst, probably one of the worst affected areas that we have seen in Brisbane. Just driving here as well, we have seen a lot of damage to some roads and some signs compared to where I was in Coorparoo. We're about 25 minutes from the CBD here, and it is very different just as you drive more towards the ocean and away, and further south. It is quickly changing. As you drive away from the city and away from the north side. So look, Leo here, Roman, as you can see here, the trees are down. People are coming out to have a look, but it's certainly a worrying situation for everyone, for all residents around this area. Look, I just spoke to a person just before, and they were saying how concerned they were by seeing that, and obviously they were just living around the corner, and it could have really happened to any of these streets. But to see a tree that big just coming across the road and shut it down, it is quite concerning. But obviously, we did see preparation. People had about 5 days' notice of this cyclone, and all week people have been preparing their homes, preparing for the worst. Obviously, thankfully, the worst did not happen, and we're just waiting for these rains now. As it is picking up the conditions. The wind's quite strong. The rain's quite strong here at the moment, actually. But for the time being, people are staying indoors, mostly staying away. A few people are coming out to see this tree, obviously, but I think most of southeast Queensland are right now heeding the warnings to stay away at this stage. These conditions are expected to set in for at least the next 48 hours with this rain continue. It all just depends on what this tropical low does do. But in terms of public transport and reopening of schools, the Premier will provide an update tomorrow on whether schools are safe enough to return. We'll just hop off the road here. There are quite a few people coming to have a look. But in terms of schools and public transport, we are going to await for that update to come from authorities at some stage. But you would think, because the cyclonic conditions, those windy conditions have passed, as long as the Brisbane River doesn't keep increasing, depending on this rains, you would expect public transport to resume sometime soon. But again, it all just depends on what this tropical low does do. It's been pretty unpredictable until now, so you would expect it to be continue to be unpredictable as the hours go on. Conditions there, very different to what we've seen in other parts of the states, but pretty poor nonetheless. And that system is still lingering. And as we heard from Dave Taylor, who spoke to us a little earlier from Brisbane weather, it depends what it does next. It's been very unpredictable. We don't know what could happen next. Let's now go to Roman McKinnon now, who's at Moreton Bay. Roman, what's the latest there?
Well, it's raining just like my last cross, Austin. It's been really weird, as I mentioned. Again, in my last cross, it's been parts where it's been dead calm, no wind, no rain. Now it's like raining horizontal again, so really unpredictable. Like pretty much just like Alfred, the start of the week as well. We're going to see those effects right throughout tomorrow, right throughout the rest of the afternoon, evening, and tomorrow as well. You need to be really on alert for those flooding areas, particularly if you are near a river. You mentioned before the Bremer River is at a major level, so that is quite concerning. As well, you also mentioned traffic lights as well. We've seen, I saw footage this morning of some traffic lights, two obviously at an intersection going straight. One was showing green and one was showing red. So it is actually quite unsafe to be out on the roads at the moment. So, that's obviously on the Gold Coast, as Levi was saying, one of the hardest hit areas by ex-tropical cyclone Alfred.
And I believe if we can show the footage, you did spot a turtle out there when you were doing your live cross just before. There it is. Have a look at that. The wildlife coming out.
As I was traveling to my live cross an hour ago, I spotted a turtle on the footpath. Actually, someone walking their dog pointed it out. So it was quite interesting. A creek probably not even 5 meters away next to it. It was alive, for everyone wondering, but yeah, something different, and also sometimes gone unnoticed during these natural disasters, wildlife as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a big thing that wildlife obviously can become it's not just humans that can be affected, it's the wildlife as well. They're living in this world as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
What have you seen in terms of people getting out and about? Are more people coming out today? Are they going against the warnings to stay indoors with this flooding that could happen?
Yeah, I haven't been. I've tried to stay as close as I can where it is safe. Obviously, that one live cross, that's the only time I've been out today. There was a few people out and about, but nothing too major. It was sort of the quieter end of the main road. Obviously, if you go towards the supermarket, those are reopening. Some of those reopening with reduced trading hours, as well as some coffee shops and some local businesses in the area. Also, supermarkets, you've got your Bunnings and those things. Those are starting to reopen. I'm not sure if that's, for or against the messaging for people to stay inside. I think it is mixed with a little bit of complacency. People just, especially small business owners, just want to reopen and try and trade. While, if it's, people not adhering to those warnings, because just like we saw on Thursday and Friday for some areas of southeast Queensland, next to nothing happening. So, it's especially for those small business owners, they're not making any money. So it could be difficult for them to actually abide by those warnings. And when we see those warnings, we'll see what happens.
And that's been a bit of a theme of this system, the complacency that we've had start to see across Brisbane in particular, with people obviously having a fair few days to prepare, and they went out and panic bought. They've taped up their houses. They've done everything to prepare for this. And in a way, it's good because they're prepared for if this rain does continue and for possible flooding. But a lot of people are now saying, why did we do this? Nothing happened. But I guess the message to them is, would you rather a natural disaster? It's better to be prepared than not prepared. That's certainly the case.
And that's been the messaging from the government as well, especially other organisations as well, receiving backlash. Saying it's fizzer and whatever people want to say about it. Just you'd rather be over prepared than under prepared, especially in events like a natural disaster and a cyclone, where southeast Queensland hasn't had one for 51 years, and not many people know actually what a cyclone is. And going through one, obviously people from North Queensland know all about it, but there was quite a few unknowns as this was happening.
Yeah, it is a very rare event indeed. We spoke to David Taylor earlier from Facebook page Brisbane Weather, who does a fantastic job at what he does. Let's hear from what he had to say. Firstly, it's been an interesting time for you covering this. You've done a tremendous job. What's it been like for you covering this cyclone that's come down this south?
It's been absolutely hectic, full on. Tired, exhausted, lack of sleep, but hey, comes with the territory.
Yeah, it's quite unexpected to see a system this far south, of course. What is it expected to do now?
Okay, so it's currently sitting about 75 kilometres northeast of Brisbane. It is slow moving, about 6 kilometres per hour towards the northwest. So it's moving towards the coast. Now, there is the chance of very heavy rainfall, intense rainfall leading to flash flooding, life-threatening, and so on. That will only happen once that low crosses the coast and drags that rain towards the west with it. Until that happens, it's going to be pretty similar as what it is at the moment. It's still producing wind gusts of up to 85 kilometres per hour, but that's more confined around where the low is. So unless you've got that low moving straight over the top of you, damaging winds is unlikely for other areas. Gusty winds are still possible, but yeah, those real damaging winds now are confined around that low pressure system.
So with this rainfall, what areas are we likely to see that in? Is it as far south as Lismore still? And how much can we expect for Brisbane as well?
Yeah, it's far as south as what the warning map is at the moment. We could see anything from 300 to 800 mils.
Okay. And could we see flooding in Brisbane like we saw in 2022 with this event?
It all depends on how much rain falls. The chances there, you can't rule it out. We'll just have to wait and see.
So there we go. That is Dave Taylor there from Brisbane Weather. He does a fantastic job on his Facebook page. You can check it out, of course. We'll go back to Roman McKinnon just quickly. Roman, in terms of reopening the roads and reopening in general, what are we seeing from crews?
I've seen a little bit last hour. We saw that major road, Young's Crossing, being reopened. I have filed this report. Take a look. We're here in Moreton Bay. This is Young's Crossing behind me. This is a major road that connects Petrie right throughout Warner and Strathpine. If you know Moreton Bay, major road, and that has just reopened behind me just minutes ago as we were on the air providing special live coverage. Council workers came through, reopened the roads, and we've seen a few people come through here. Conditions in Moreton Bay really starting to pick up as the afternoon progresses. Ex-tropical cyclone Alfred now expected to make landfall as a tropical low at Bribie Island. So we'll see those effects right throughout the day and even tomorrow. We'll bring you more updates as they happen, as right now the conditions are starting to pick up those horizontal rains and damaging winds like what we saw on the Gold Coast and Northern Rivers yesterday. And also they're feeling the effects today. Lots of power lines down and Energex working around the clock. In fact, they won't be until the threat is over, and that's what the government is warning. The threat is not over yet.
Roman McKinnon reporting there in Moreton Bay. We'll go back to Levi Knight now, who is standing by for us on the Gold Coast. Levi, you went through that site. You went through a lot of those strong winds that we saw up to 150 k's an hour yesterday. Can you describe to us what it was like going through that?
Yeah, also, look, it's just unpredictable. I mean, especially yesterday, there were times where it was absolutely clear, blue skies, looked like you go out, walk the dog and check out the sun. And then the next, it's just pouring with torrential rain and those winds really, really picking up, the trees swaying. And it's even a little bit like that today. There's about an hour ago, there was no rain whatsoever and the wind calmed down a little bit. Now, just as I'm standing by for you, the winds are picking up and throwing my jacket around a little bit. The trees in the background are just going at it, and it's just really changing drastically by the hour. Obviously not as much as it was last night there. It was pretty consistent. The wind's just picking up now. Like an hour ago, I wasn't really feeling this, but now you can really, really see the winds going, the trees. And I think that's what's causing a lot of the aftermath of some of those trees still falling down today. Obviously, we saw the main burst of wind last night, but the after effects, these short bursts of wind are still knocking trees over and still causing some of those damages that we're seeing out through today. And I think that's why those warnings and road closures are still quite pressing, and the authorities are still asking people to stay away from the beach and watch out for those live power lines. At the moment, I think a few hours ago, I was getting quite hot. Now, just standing out there, it's really cold because of those wind speeds and obviously the rain and water just coming and throwing at me.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave our night reporting on the Gold Coast. Thank you so much, and thank you to Roman McKinnon. Both of you do stay safe and dry, and we will catch up with you a little later on. Look, that's where we'll leave our rolling coverage for now. Thank you for being with us for the past few hours. We've had a lot to cover, and it's been great to have your company. Do stay safe wherever you are, and do follow the advice from authorities. I'm Austin Pollock from Brisbane. Thanks for your company. We'll see you again soon.